Now we can finally start stripping this engine. There's been a few bumps in the road here and there, but today we are getting down to this because this is the only step preventing me from finally opening it up. So I have a mixture here of bolts from Lowe's and Home Depot, but the funny thing is that they have like 1,000 washers per bolt, but it's been holding up well, so I'm glad. So I get to replace this power steering pump, which is something that I've been wanting to do since like 5 years ago. I never did it, and I'm glad that I didn't do it back then because to get to this would have been a bitch. So let's finally get to business and start stripping it off. I already removed some clips because let's face it, no one wants to see me remove clips. I don't want to see anyone remove clips. This fuel rail is the only thing stopping me from removing the rest of the harness, but I can't get to it now because these clips, I can't get to them because the intake manifold is here. But we'll get to that later. First, we're gonna start from the front to the back. So let's start off by first removing this cover and then the header with the catalytic converter, which this catalytic is worth a lot of money these days, but maybe not this one because it's 30+ years old. Every single time it comes to an exhaust and these bolts, I hate it on every car because something always goes wrong. When moving the exhaust from the car from the header, 2 bolts stripped. So I'm hoping that this doesn't happen. That's why we are going to spray some PB Blaster on these. And hopefully this helps it out to come off easier. I really don't want to strip anymore. So as I was checking the nut size, I actually realized that the alternator was in the way for this specific bolt. So now, for this specific nut, sorry. So now it should be easier to come off. I don't know about the nuts, but at least for easier placement, easier access to this one. I hate to admit it, but this always gets the job done. So I don't know the last time, it's probably like 5 years ago that I did an oil filter, and I remember putting this, did an oil change, and I remember putting this new oil filter here. It's a Fram one. And see guys, it's held up, the O-ring did not fall, but unfortunately the last time I did an oil change with the Raptor, it fell and it was a Fram filter, so it's not always Fram. Now I'm removing the distributor, and I already marked it here for the placement of the angle. I'm not sure if I had to do this, but I did it for the Fox body, so better safe than sorry. So this should be just 1 bolt, and then as soon as I get this off, whew, good thing I didn't have to use a Milwaukee. So once I get this off, then I can move on to removing the intake manifold. It's time to remove the intake manifold. So I kind of prepped this a little bit differently. Basically, any hose that is connected to the manifold, that's connected to the block or engine or any other part, I just disconnected and left it on the manifold. The reason being is because this is just already an old engine, and I don't want any of these hoses to break, even though I may have to replace them later. But for now, I just want to remove the least amount possible and for it to just come off with the intake manifold together. This engine, it looks so small now that it's naked, well, almost naked. It looks like a toy compared to the Shelby GC350. But now I can count down the things left to remove everything. So first I'm gonna remove these hoses. I don't know exactly what they're called, but I know they should just run radiator fluid. Then we can move on to the fuel pump, and then the power steering. Oh, and then this bracket here, and yep, I think that's it. All right, so this just wouldn't come off. So I'm just giving it a little nudge so it does. There we go. Okay, I'm so happy we are almost there. This is the second to last step. So just going to remove this fuel rail. It's just 2 bolts. And then once I get these off and take off the fuel rail, then I can remove the injectors and then move on to the power steering pump. Oh my God. Okay, that totally caught me off guard. I should have known that that was gonna happen, but at the same time, it just caught me unexpected because I just was thinking, I'm almost done with this. I just need to remove the fuel rail, the injectors, and the power steering pump. That's all that's going on in my mind. And then it just came, it just popped all over. It went all over my legs, and yeah, that got me by surprise. And at the same time, it doesn't really smell like fuel. It smells like alcohol. So it must have been like really old fuel just there. But you know, now we can move on to the last step. I've never been happier. The engine is already, the next thing to do is open up the engine, but we will do that in the next video. This just looks so tiny and so small. Like this 4-cylinder is just, look at this. I'm so used to the Voodoo that this just looks like a tiny, almost like a little toy engine, but I'm so happy that we are done with removing everything around it. It's just the engine. So now that that's done, now is when we can start cooking and let the real work start. So I will be opening up this engine in the next video, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.